Okay guys, so tonight we're going to do flipping out with similar figures. You need your worksheet, you need a pen or pencil, and a highlighter as well. So if you don't have those things, please pause the video and go find them. At the top, please put your name. And we're going to start out with a little bit of vocabulary. The first sentence says, similar figures have the same shape, but not necessarily the same size. And you should have talked about similar figures last year, so this should ring a bell. The sides in the same position of two or more similar figures are called corresponding sides. Corresponding sides. The next sentence says corresponding angles are always congruent. And congruent means that they are the same. So if one is 45 degrees, the corresponding one is also 45 degrees. The next one says an enlargement is increasing the size or the volume of something, and a reduction is decreasing. So if you enlarge something, it gets bigger or larger. If you reduce it, it gets smaller. Okay, so we're going to go on to the first section here, section A, and it says find the missing measurement using a proportion. So question 1 says rectangular ABCD is similar to rectangle EFG. So with your pencil or pen, I want you to write to the side ABCD like this. And underneath it, I want you to write EFGH. And what this tells us is because A and E are lined up here, A and E are corresponding. Because B and F are lined up, B and F are corresponding. So with your highlighter, the question says, what is the length of EH? So highlight EH. And then on your figure, find EH and highlight it. Now when I look over here and I see E, and I highlight it, it corresponds with A. And when I look at H, it corresponds with D, which means this side, AD, corresponds to side EH. Then I have this side, HG, that I'm going to circle. H corresponds with D, and G corresponds with C, which means these two are corresponding. So with your pen or pencil, circle those. So we're going to set up a proportion to solve this like the instructions say. And in this problem, you are comparing a big rectangle to a small rectangle. And then you're going to compare what you highlighted to what you circled with your pen or pencil. So set your proportion up so that you have it ready. Now you're going to go in and substitute your numbers. On the big rectangle, I highlighted 12, so that goes here. I circled 16, so that goes here. And then I go to my small one. On my small rectangle, I highlighted EH. I don't know what it is, so that's where I put X or another variable. But with my pencil or pen, I circled 12. So I have a proportion. In order to solve a proportion, I've got to cross multiply. But I want to simplify first. I see 12 and 16. I know that 4 goes into both of them. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now I can cross multiply. So I have 4 times x equals 3 times 12, which is 4x equals 36. So when I divide by 4, x equals 9, which means the length of EH is 9 centimeters. And some of you might have seen here that 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9, and that works as well. So we're going to move on to example 2. It says rectangle JKLM is similar to rectangle STUV. So on the side, write JKLM, and underneath it, write STUV. Then the question says, find the side labeled X. So with your highlighter, go find the side labeled X, which is right here. It's ML. So when I go look over here, I see M corresponds with V. So here's V. And L corresponds with U, which means this side here corresponds to the other side that I highlighted. So now pick up your pen or pencil. You're going to circle this side, JM, which I see corresponds to SV. So we're going to set up our proportion. This time you're comparing a small rectangle to a big rectangle, and you're comparing pen or pencil to highlighter. So I'm going to fill in what I know. The small one, my pencil or pen gives me 5. On the small one, the highlighter gives me X. On the big one, my pen or pencil gives me 10, and my highlighter gives me 7. So now I can cross multiply like this. So 5 times 7 equals 10 times X. So 35 equals 10X. So when I divide by X, or divide by 10, excuse me, X equals 3.5. Because remember, when you divide by 10, that hops your decimal one time. So side X is 3.5 feet. Alright, now example 3 is for you to do on your own. So pause the video and complete example 3. When you're done, flip to the back. Okay, now we're on the back with section B. Find a missing measurement using scale factor. So it says triangle ABC is similar to triangle EFG. Find the missing side length X. So we got to take our pencil again, or pen, and write ABC. And underneath it, the letters that correspond to it are E, F, G. Well, the problem says find X. So I'm going to highlight X in my problem. And here I see that this side is labeled side X. So it tells me with what I wrote here that A corresponds to E, B corresponds to F, which means this side on the larger one corresponds to my highlighting. And then I can see BC here has a 1, B corresponds to F, and C corresponds to G, so here it is. So I'm going to set up my proportion just like I did on the front. And I'm comparing a small triangle to a big triangle. And I'm going to compare my highlighter to my pencil. So on my small triangle, I highlighted X, and I circled 1 with my pen or pencil. On the big triangle, I highlighted 9, and I circled 3 with my pen or pencil. So now I'm going to use scale factor. Remember, scale factor is when you find something you multiply by. And I can see 1 right here. 3 times what gives me 9? Was 3 times 3 is 9. So 1 times 3 gives me 3, which tells me that X is 3 miles. You may also see another one. You may see that 1 times 3 is 3. So some number times 3 gives me 9. Well, we also know that that is 3. So either way works. Question 2. The figures are similar. What is the length of the side labeled X? This time we don't have letters on the points there to use. So we're just going to have to kind of look at the links here. And I see X is what they're asking for. And when I look at this, the top and the bottom of my trapezoid here, this is the shorter one, this is the longer one. So this corresponds here. So now I have different options that I can use. I can see that 20 and 10 correspond, 6 and 12 correspond, and then 20 and 10 correspond. Doesn't matter which set you use, but I'm going to go with 20 and 10 because I'd rather use 20 and 10 than 12 and 6. So I set up my proportion. I compare big to small, and then I'm going to compare my pencil or pen to my highlighter. So on my big one, I circled my pen or pencil 20, and I highlighted 22. On the little one, I circled 10, and I highlighted X. So I'm going to look for a scale factor, some sort of pattern that I can see here, and I can see that 10 times 2 gives me 20. So I need to think what number times 2 gives me 22, or 22 divided by 2 gives me 11. So it's X equals 11 centimeters. Alright, now number 3 is for you to do on your own. Pause the video and complete that question and then move to section C. Alright, so section C says find a missing measurement using a given ratio. So this time there's no picture, so it looks a little different. It says two similar figures have a ratio of 3 to 5. Remember we talked about ratios the other day. Ratio is a comparison. It says if one side of the small figure is 9 feet, so highlight that, smaller figure is 9 feet. How long is the corresponding side of the larger figure? So we're still going to set up a proportion here. A line equals a line. And we're going to compare 3 to 5. And if we're talking about small to large or small to big, this one is going to be our smaller one. And the bottom one is going to be our larger figure. So if it tells us the smaller figure is 9 feet on the other side of it, that means it has to go on top with the small figure here. We want to know the larger figure, so that's x. So now you can solve this different ways. You can cross multiply using a proportion. Or if you see your scale factor, 3 times 3 is 9. So 5 times 3 would have to be 15. So x is 15 feet. And you can see from 3 to 5 it gets larger. So if this was a 15, from 9 to 15 it gets larger as well. Question number 2. Two similar figures have a ratio of 5 to 2. If one side of the small figure is 10 yards, how long is the corresponding side of the larger figure? So again, set up your proportion. This time you were given 5 to 2. And this time you have your larger number on top, so I'm going to write large over small. They give us a side of the small figure is 10, so instead of putting it on the top, watch where it goes. It goes on the bottom, and I want to know the large one, so I put that on top. And again, I can see my scale factor. 2 times 5 is 10. So 5 times 5 is 25. So x is 25 yards. Okay, one more question. This one is on your own, and when you have finished that problem, you are good to go.